Hi there, I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, and welcome to my Comic Vault. And what do I do down here at the Comic Vault? Well, it's simple. I talk about all things comic book related. And if you're interested in comic books, well, you're probably wondering, if I'm going to collect, where do I start? Well, I got to tell you, I got 3 things that are going to help you get into comic books. No matter what you do, the first thing is you want to have a plan. Have a plan when you start collecting comic books, because there's so many different stories and varieties and ages. You need to start somewhere. So start with what you like. Go with what you know. If you enjoy Superman, start with the newest Superman series. Or if you like Spider-Man, start with the newest Spider-Man series. Maybe you exclusively like horror comics or sci-fi. Go with them, because if you enjoy what you love, you'll always enjoy your hobby. Now, of course, as time goes on, you'll probably want to fine-tune this plan, but initially, that's where you want to start. And another reason you want to go with what you love, and the reason why you want to go with new stuff first, is it brings us to our second item, and that is you want to give yourself a comic budget. If you buy new stuff, it's going to be a lot cheaper than trying to find some back issues. Now, of course, back issues can be pretty inexpensive to get. However, sometimes the price can go up on them depending on the storyline, whether or not there's a movie out for that particular comic book series or character, or the age of the comic book, maybe a first appearance. Prices can go up. So you want to have a budget. And what you want to do is you want to start small, $20, $40, $50 a month tops. And quite frankly, whatever budget comes to mind for you for buying comics, probably cut it in half. That way you don't overspend. The first number that comes to mind, cut it in half. I know when I was younger and I want to collect comic books, I could easily, I'll just spend $100. That'll be great. $100 a month, perfect. No. That usually cut me pretty short. So I would definitely throttle back on that. And I had to. So start small, because you can always increase your budget as time goes on. Buy newer comics in the beginning, because it'll make your limited budget stretch much further. Now, after you've decided to collect comic books and you decided what you want to collect and you decided how much you're going to spend, now you want to take a look at protecting comic books. So what you want to do is you want to take a comic book, and once you're done reading it, and it depends, you may not be concerned about keeping your comic book nice and pristine, but later on down the road, sometimes these books can be worth a lot of money, depending on, again, first appearances, whether or not a movie comes out, or perhaps maybe you increase your comic budget, and let's say you enjoy Spider-Man, and you buy Spider-Man number 4 because you want it oh so bad. Well, that's an expensive comic book, especially if you want it in a really nice condition. So you're going to want to take care of your comic books. Plus, it's just nice to take care of all your comic books so they're nice down the road for the future. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get these poly bags at the minimum and these cardboard backers. These poly bags are clear and see-through, and you just open them up, stack your comic book and your cardboard at the same time, gently slide them into the bag and seal it up. And once the comic book is sealed, a couple pieces of tape right there on the back. Once it's sealed, you're going to want to take it and you want to store it properly. And you want to put it in a comic box to keep it safe. Drop it right in, straight up and down. And you're all set. Your comic book is nice and safe. Now, when you store comics like this in these comic boxes, you want to make sure that you don't cram too many in here. You want to leave a little space on either side so that way it's easy to pull your comic book out. A problem a lot of people have is they don't pay attention, and I'm going to use, let me see here. Okay, here's a comic book I got a lot of. So you're going to want to watch this. I see a lot of people, when they look at not just comics in a store, but their own comics, they'll pull a comic out a little bit, and because they don't have a lot of space to move comics and to pull the comic book completely out, what they'll do is they'll just pull it up and they'll bend it, just like that. You don't want to do that because you're curving the book and you can easily damage your book. And if it's an old valuable book, you just decrease that value by perhaps hundreds of dollars. So you want to be very, very careful. Always pull a comic book straight up and gently put it straight back down again, and make sure it's seated nice and flat before you move on to another comic book. When you have your comics in a comic box, you're going to want to make sure that you store this in a cool, dry, dark place. Your closet would be fine, maybe under the bed, and these are okay places. You never want to store them in the attic or garage, anywhere that's not climate controlled. You definitely don't want to do that. Now, also, I would not want to put it directly on the floor. You want it up off the floor. So you want to put something underneath this box. In the past, I've cut 2x4s to the same width of the box and put about 4 underneath here and left nice even spacing so that way I can get air circulation underneath and around the bottom of the box. Also, you want to pay attention exactly where this box is sitting. It might be fine in your room, but if you put it under a window and there's a storm, a window breaks, that could be a problem. And here in Florida, we get hurricanes all the time. Not uncommon for something like that to happen. Or you might have this stored in your closet, but if your closet backs right up to the guest bathroom or the master bath, if you have a pipe break, it could flood that area and it could damage your comic box. And water can go everywhere and do anything under pressure or even not. So it could easily damage your comic books. It could shoot up high and then drip down off the ceiling. So you really want to be careful and mindful about where your pipes are in the home and where your windows are when you go to store your comic box. That's very important because you want to keep these babies safe. And in the off event that, of course, you do get water on this box, either on the top or on the bottom, still, if you have everything bagged and backed, at least it offers some additional type of protection for this. Now, this is the minimum kind of protection that you're going to want. There are other hard plastic boxes, there are special frames. You can get your comics encapsulated. Instead of the poly bags and backs, you can get Mylar. There's a lot of different options, and down the road we'll be taking a look at some of these different protection options for your comic books. But this is the most basic. So again, there are 3 main things that you can do while you're collecting comics. 1, have a plan. Know what you're going to collect. 2, get yourself a budget. Don't overextend because you still got to pay your bills. And what you don't want to do is be collecting comics and suddenly realize you're in desperate straits and you got to pay a bill, so you have to sell some of your comics. You don't want to do that. So give yourself a budget. And then at the end of it, you want to make sure that you protect your investments. Initially, collecting comics, even if you don't do it for investment purposes, eventually, if you collect enough, you will have a tidy investment. And any collection of sufficient size will be worth something. So you want to take care of it. And as you get into collecting comics, if you really get into it, it's quite possible you could end up going after variant covers, which could go up in price, or even older versions of the same comic books. And these versions can be very expensive, like Silver Age or Golden Age books. These are very, very valuable books, and you definitely want to protect them at all costs. So I hope that this video has given you some clarity on how to start collecting comic books. So with that in mind, I'm going to leave you with those thoughts, and I hope you have a great time collecting. Be sure to come back and we'll talk some more about comic books. And in the meantime, I want you to stay safe, have a great time collecting comics, and I'll see you real soon.